Now let's switch to paid prospecting and teach you some strategies to generate prospects. If you, and I would not pass up on the organic method. I think the organic method is the best long term. It's slower to get started. The paid prospecting will send you more recruits, but it's messier, and it's a faster process. It's messier in the sense that you're going to get a variety of different types of backgrounds of people that may or may not be licensed, and there's that you got to go overcome. And but let's talk about what you can do. So the first things you can do is Craigslist and ZipRecruiter. So why am I talking about Craigslist and ZipRecruiter? The reason is, and again, for you guys been around, you may scoff at the idea of going on Craigslist and putting an ad up, because a lot of people do that, have done that in the past. And it's kind of got a reputation as being kind of like a place, you don't want to recruit. You don't want to, as an agent, you don't want to work with somebody that came off a Craigslist ad. That's how it's always been presented to me. However, I tend to disagree now, because it's not so much that you recruit in a certain fashion as much as it is how and the message that you deliver when you're on these platforms that matters. Like, so for example, I like Craigslist and ZipRecruiter because it's an affordable price, first of all. If you've looked at putting job ads on Monster or a lot of these well-known brand name employment sites, it's really expensive. It can be very pricey. And what you'll find is that the outcome of who you attract is no different than what you would find on Craigslist or ZipRecruiter. There's a lot of eyeballs on both of these. So you get, in my experience, a low price with a lot of eyeballs, a lot of people who will see your ad. And you don't have to spend a lot of money in order to do it. So what's the strategy that would we use if we were using Craigslist or ZipRecruiter? So it's fairly simple. I call it a two-step marketing approach. Very simple two-step lead generation process. So you put an ad out that describes what you do, what you're looking for. Now there's different ways you can employ the ad. You can employ an ad that's very specific. It talks about exactly the opportunity. There have been agencies that put out vague ads. I don't like those. Again, it's just like the old talk about final expense leads. Do you use a specific life insurance lead or a vague one? You'll get more interest with the vague one, but you may not get as many people who are actually interested in it, if that makes sense. So I've used, when I've done Craigslist or ZipRecruiter, I've done specific ads talking about the pros of the business, what's required, that kind of thing. And then my funnel, if you will, was to funnel them into an individual interview, or as we'll talk about next time, which is an opportunity meeting. Mine were done online, but the same concept is, a one-to-many type of presentation. And but just to sit there and do an interview, or whatever your next step is, and this is something we'll further refine on the next module next week, where we take someone with interest into an interview situation. The pros of this, again, are the cost. The cost is a big one with the distribution model. The cons are going to be that with Craigslist and ZipRecruiter, you're going to get a lot of people who aren't going to be licensed. You're not going to get, if that's a problem, it may not be a problem. If you've decided that your primary target for agents are brand new agents, as has been my model for years, 80% of my agents haven't ever sold final expense, and that's fine. I want a fresh face, ideally, somebody who's not biased or burned out. If you've decided that new agents are fine, then that's great. This would be a great method, because you're going to see people who don't really know what to do. They're in a position where they want a job. Maybe they've heard about insurance and, are kind of curious but don't know what to do. You're taking a blank slate. And a lot of people who recruit will tell you they like that. So, but the cons are they're a blank slate. You're going to spend a lot of time recruiting these, a lot of time training these guys. You're going to go through a lot of people, a lot of interviews. Again, just part of the business, stuff that you've got to do. You're going to lose a lot of people because they got to put money up to get their license. Something you can somewhat remedy if you decide to pay for it, or have them pay and then recompensate them when they come in and write business or something like that. So there's a couple of strategies to overcome some of those, but it is definitely one of those where you get a ton of interest on for people who are inexperienced in the insurance business, and it takes a lot of fleshing out till you find a good fit. I would say more so than the next strategy, and then the warm, cold approach, messaging approach that we talked about earlier. So this one, I really like this strategy. I think it is an underutilized strategy in a sensible approach. I think that most agents, the most agencies that are building their downline off of cold calls just spam the crap out of everybody. They don't think through a targeted message to a targeted audience. And much of what I talked about earlier when it comes to lists and targeting people on LinkedIn, for example, you can do equivalently well right here, cold calling without any cost. And if you prefer to talk to people versus message, this can be great. So I like cold calling for agents because it's little to no cost. In some states, you can find appointment records for agents along with their phone numbers for free. You just pull up the list of the Department of Insurance, and then you sort by whatever company you want to target, whomever you've decided to do a campaign for, and then go to work talking to those people. And you can have really substantive, meaningful conversations right off the bench. You may have to pay for a list. That's fine. Those aren't too terribly expensive. If you need to get a list, I can refer you to a vendor. If you want to email me or send me a direct message just to remind me, I'll go figure out. I forgot who does these, but I can go find it in a day or two and send you to them if you wanted to buy a list. And what's cool is you can buy a list custom tailored to less than a year in the business, works with American Income Life, and is licensed in whatever state. And so you can custom tailor a nice list based off of that. And if your desire is AIL agents and you understand kind of what they go through and you know how to talk to those guys, it'll be really profitable. It's scalable. So this is one of those things that you can outsource on, and that's what I mean by scalable. You can have other people that you pay to do the prospecting calls, to talk to people, develop interest, and then maybe you take over and just talk to people who are very frustrated with their current organization that you've decided to target, and focus on talking to interested people that are qualified more. And like I've already said, it's niche-based targeting. So the strategy here, again, is to target a specific type of appointed agent, one that works with a particular agency or marketing organization or company, and you know a little bit about their circumstances, the kind of problems they run into, and you go to work trying to recruit them. So a couple examples. There's an organization out of Vero Beach, Florida, that is in the final expense business. All of their agents come on at a 40, 50, 60% contract, and they work free leads. They work a prescription drug card lead, and they're very recruitment focused. And what's great is that if you can find people who work for them, which you can on LinkedIn especially, you can go ahead and start targeting those people. And you might be able to backdoor those names into a cold call list too. By taking their information off of LinkedIn, you find out they work for XYZ company, and then looking them up in the state registry, and then you could call those people and then say, hey, I see you work for Senior. Oh, I'm about to say it. I see you work for this particular company. And I know you guys get free leads. You're pretty low contracts, and I just want to see how things are going. That's really the suggested script that I recommend to agents. I mean, the great thing is that in some circumstances, there are agents that hate the agency they work with that just don't know what else is out there. They know something's wrong. They're not happy, but they don't know how to transition away. And many times, if you know the particularities and you understand what they're possibly going through, like an agent that's with a captive company in the final expense business within the first year, I know that he's either loving it and he's totally sold, or he's angry. He's pissed because he's getting replaced. He's seeing there's better products out there. He doesn't know kind of where to go. He doesn't know who to talk to. I would talk to that guy all day long. I want to talk to those people daily. I could convert and recruit to some extent some of those people who are in that mindset. And so this strategy allows us to get in front of these people in a way that I'm telling you, very few people are doing this. They don't do a calculated cold call like this. There's an organization that I'll even tell you my experience, how well this works. There's one guy that cold called me that is a 20 million plus producing agency in the business. And I've got a couple contracts with him. But the reason he did it is because he found out who I was. He did some research. He found my number. He called me. He left a voicemail. I didn't call him back till like 2 months later. And now he's got a couple contracts. I got a couple contracts under him. Not a lot of business, but his play of, and this is somebody's been in the business probably 30 years now. He knows as a professional recruiter, if he can just get some contracts on me, if things were to change with me, or just even just create a relationship, if things change, he's got an in with somebody who's doing a lot of business, who's early on in his career, and that could bring him a ton of business later on. And so it's the start of a relationship. And that's kind of how you have to look at some of these cold calls. You'll recruit some of these guys right away, but you'll also set the table for the big recruitments later on. A perfect example, my upline in the business, he reached out to me. I remember listening to him and rolling my eyes. I was like, I'm not interested. I don't want to waste my time. But I did it because at the time, I was just being courteous. Well, my organization changed and I had to change what I was doing, and I wasn't happy. They weren't providing me the resources, but I went to this guy instead because I had a positive experience. I actually had a contract or two as well. Everything he did was right, so I got to test him out a little bit, and I determined the guy was trustworthy, and I liked him. And I didn't even shop it. I just called him up and said, hey, can you get me something good for what I'm about to bring you? He said, sure. And so 4 years later, I've been of minimal service to him. He's not had to babysit me. He's not had to deal with any BS from me. It's been a profitable relationship for him, but that came all from a cold call, just one singular call. I've never met the guy in person. I have a relationship with him over the phone, but that is the power of the phone, and that's the power of calculated research and taking this and putting some thought to who you target and putting together a campaign and specifically targeting on a regular basis people that fit these particular groups. And I'm saying a campaign in the sense of one company at a time. I would look at multiple companies and target them, and always be targeting different types of lists of different organizations or carriers of agents are associated with, so that you got new people to see all the time. So let me check the chat here. Just get off for just a second. Let's see. Do you hear this market knowledge on insurance forums? I guess part of it is market knowledge. You just develop this stuff through time, Kyle. Insurance forums definitely has been something that has been a great resource along the way. But it's not just that, it's also Facebook forums too. Anywhere where agents talk and gather, you get to collect intelligence. You get to see what's going on. You get to evaluate and see, kind of have a pulse on things. And I'm also in the position too, I talk to tons of agents every week. A lot of them don't work with me, so I kind of know what's going on. Like this whole deal with the company I talked about earlier, that who I'm talking about. This came from people that you sent me. This came from people that I talked to that called me. And they all confirmed the same thing, and then some talk online about it. But this is stuff that, yes, with anything, when you stick your head into a field or stick your head into, a process, you're going to start collecting information and knowing what's going on and know the players in the business, know the specifics. And it's certainly something that you just naturally get over time. Thanks for watching my video on building your own insurance agency. And before you go, I want to stress, if you are interested in building an agency, you have got to find the right setup to give you the opportunity to build the agency in your brand, to make it your own, and to maximize the opportunity out of your hard work. What I've discovered as an agency owner since 2013 is that many of the agents out there who aspire to build an agency, doesn't matter what product it is, partner with the wrong companies. They partner with companies that steal their downlines, that terminate them to eliminate them from their downlines, and ultimately build the brand of the company or the agency and not their own brand. What I teach agents is how to brand their own agency in their name, to give them the opportunity to maximize their commissions, whatever kind of products they're selling, and to ultimately create a real business that actually gets results. I'm sick and tired of all these corporations out here who are involved in the insurance business screw so many good-hearted agents over with quote-unquote agency opportunities. So this whole rant is just for me to explain to you that now I have a program. If you are interested in doing some sort of agency building, but you want to make sure you join the right agency, you want to make sure you get the training from A to Z, from recruiting, from training, from coaching agents to building and scaling and having lead generation, you think that's important to know and you know you need it, my program is for you. So if you want to learn more about how I help agents become successful and independent agency owners, here's what you need to do. Go to davidduford.com, click Join Dave's Agency, and you'll see a little link in the bottom that says something about check out my agency program. And there you'll find all sorts of information that will describe how it works and give you an idea of the details and to determine if it's right for you. So check that out if this is something you're serious about doing. And you guys have a good day, and thanks for watching. See ya.